Hey, all you amazing chefs out there. Today we are working on sweet treats. Today we actually are going to be making 3 different recipes using sort of the same base. Jordy, my son, used to work with us back in the day, and this was one of the desserts that he was in charge of, and he was in charge of making it amazing. And then we're going to be making a classic creme brulee. We're going to add a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of vanilla, make it really nice, and then from there, with the leftovers from our custard mix, we're actually going to be making 2 other dishes. The first dish that we're going to be making is one of his favorite breakfast items, which is French toast. And then the other dish that we're going to be making today is a bread pudding. And we're actually going to be doing 2 different types of bread pudding. One of them is going to be a pecan and golden raisin bread pudding, and then the other one is going to be a chocolate bread pudding because I love chocolate and I'm the chef, and that's what we're making today. So thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show. Okay, so for the first part of our 3 different dishes that we're going to be making is going to be the creme brulee, because that one is probably the most simple, and then from there we're going to be able to make the rest of our other bread pudding along with our French toast. So the first thing that we need to do is take 8 eggs that we have that we're going to separate out, and we're just going to use the egg yolks. And then we're also going to take a quart of cream. So 8 eggs to the quart of cream is just roughly your kind of ratio when you're making any sort of custard. So if you want to scale it up or scale it down, just remember 8 eggs to a quart of cream, and then about 1 ounce of sugar for every egg that you use. So the first thing that we're going to do is going to go ahead and heat up our heavy cream. And while our heavy cream is working, we're going to go ahead and take our 8 eggs, the yolks just by themselves, along with our 8 ounces of granulated sugar. We have our sugar, we're going to take a little bit of cinnamon, we have our vanilla, and we're just going to use a pinch of salt. I know that kind of sounds weird for a sweet treat, but the salt is actually going to help bring all the flavor to the front of your mouth and give it a really nice flavor. So first thing we're going to do is take our 8 egg yolks, put them in a mixing bowl, along with our 8 ounces of sugar, a pinch of salt, a pinch of cinnamon, and our vanilla. We're gonna mix these guys up, and while this is happening, we have our cream over on the stove, and we're letting that get warm. And we're gonna add a little bit of the cream into our mixing bowl here, just a little bit, and then from there, once it gets nice and incorporated, we're gonna add it back into our pot over there. Okay, so now that our cream is warm, and be careful because you don't want it to start to get too hot, because if not, it'll boil over the pot. We're gonna add just a little bit of the cream into our bowl. And we're gonna mix that together. And this is gonna help the eggs from just kind of cooking too quickly. And once that's nice and incorporated, we're gonna add it back into the whole pot. And you wanna make sure you get everything in there, all the sugar, all the vanilla, all the cinnamon. And so this actually is almost the base for making ice cream, which on our next episode, we'll kind of show you how to do that. All right, so great. Now that we have our cream heated up and we mixed all our eggs, the egg yolks, the sugar, the vanilla, and the cinnamon, and the pinch of salt, make sure you get the pinch of salt in there. We're gonna go ahead and start making our creme brulees. We're gonna go ahead and put these guys in our ramekins. So what we're gonna do is have a couple of ramekins, and we're gonna go ahead and put them into a water bath. So this way, it helps make that sort of custard mix not cook too quickly to where the eggs curdle. And what we're gonna end up having right now is we'll get all 4 of these guys filled up. The first one. Our second one. And then what we want to do is, before we put these guys in the oven, we are going to want to go ahead and add, just basically cover them with foil, so that way they help kind of steam, and this way there doesn't get any sort of color to the top of them. So right before we put these guys in the oven, we're gonna top them off with foil. And you wanna get a nice sort of seal to them. And we're gonna bake them in the oven for maybe about 30 minutes or so. We're gonna give them a little bump just to kind of see if it gets nice and firm. And we're gonna cook them for about 20 to 30 minutes at 350 degrees. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop these guys in the oven right now. We're gonna go ahead and start working on our next dish, which is gonna be our bread pudding. And we're gonna pop those guys into these two containers right here. And these guys are both something you can bake in. So I'm gonna have some brioche, some challah bread right here. I think this is a really nice bread to work with. It really holds up nicely when you add the custard to it. And we're just gonna cut this guy in little squares. That way we get some good surface area. So that way the custard soaks into all our bread. And we're just gonna stick these guys in there. And as I mentioned before, we're gonna be making two different types of bread pudding. So the first one that we're gonna make is a pecan. And we're gonna add some pecans and a little bit of our golden raisins. And I like a lot of pecans and golden raisins in there. And we're just gonna top it off a little bit more. And then our second one is gonna be a chocolate bread pudding because I love chocolate. So we're gonna add just where it covers the top. Add a little bit more chocolate on top. And then we're gonna fill these guys up with the same custard. And we're gonna do our second one, our chocolate, and add our custard mix into that one. And then same thing, we're gonna go ahead and cover these with a little bit of aluminum foil and bake them at 350 degrees. Same thing for about 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, so now that we're waiting on the creme brulee along with the bread pudding, and those guys are gonna be working in the oven, we're gonna start working on our French toast. And so I'm gonna go ahead and move this bread out of the way. Save this for later. We'll make a few more of the bread puddings. You decide which one you like better and make some more of that one. All right, so what we're gonna do is gonna cut a little bit thicker of a slice of bread. And we're just gonna cut these guys in half, make some really nice triangles out of them. And take our mix that we have here. And we're just gonna soak these guys in there for about 30, 45 seconds. You don't want them in there too long so that way the bread doesn't get soggy. But you do want to let the bread kind of soak up in there just for a few seconds. All right, so one of the things that I really like to do once I pull my French toast out of the batter is we're gonna go ahead and hit them again with a little bit of cinnamon. And we definitely want to do that on both sides. So we're gonna flip these guys over and add just a little bit more cinnamon. Great, so now that we have our brioche bread soaked in our custard mix and we sprinkled a little bit of the cinnamon on top, we're gonna go ahead and get our pan ready to go so that way we can start searing them. And we're gonna go ahead and bring all this stuff over here. All right, so we have a nice hot pan. We're gonna take a little bit of butter, throw that in there. Go ahead and make sure that it's melted all the way around. And we're gonna throw our French toast in. And we're gonna let these guys cook for about maybe 2 to 3 minutes on each side to get them nice and crispy. And once they're crispy and golden brown on both sides, we're gonna go ahead and add our garnish to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this cook for about another 1 or 2 minutes. These guys over. All right. So those guys look nice and golden brown. And we're gonna go ahead and let them cook on this side for about another minute or two. Make sure that our pan's not too hot. All right, so they look good on both sides. I'm gonna flip this guy over just to check to see how it's looking on that one. And as you can see, they have a really nice color to them. And I'm gonna go ahead and let them sit on this side because I like them to be crunchy all the way around. And I'm just gonna let these guys go for about 30 seconds and then we're gonna go ahead and start plating these guys up here. All right, great. So we have some really nice color to our French toast. So we're gonna go ahead and start putting these guys on the plate here. And we're just gonna kind of stack them up, kind of like that. Get a little bit of height to them. some really nice presentation happening. Take a few of our berries, add just a little bit of whipped cream. Put a blueberry on there, and then we're gonna go ahead and top it off with some cinnamon syrup. And then we're gonna go ahead and finish it with our powdered sugar. And there you go. Enjoy. This is our French toast right here. All right, great. So now that we finished our French toast, we're gonna go ahead and start on our caramel sauce for our bread pudding. Our bread pudding is just a couple minutes away from being ready to go. So we're gonna go ahead and show you how to make a really quick and really simple caramel sauce using just a couple of ingredients. We have a little bit of heavy cream, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of sugar, and just, again, we're just gonna add a pinch of salt in there. So come and join me over at the stove and I'll show you how to get this recipe started. Okay, great. So we're gonna go ahead and add our sugar into our pan. And we're gonna add a little bit of water, just where it sort of looks like kind of wet sand. We're just gonna let that kind of boil for a minute or so. We're gonna add just a tiny little pinch of salt. And then we're gonna go ahead and stir that. That way all the sugar starts to dissolve. And we're gonna cook this for about maybe 3 or 4 minutes. We're gonna get a little bit of color to it. We want it to start to thicken up as well as get a little bit dark. Gets that nice caramel color to it. And we're gonna let that go for about another 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so as you can see, it's starting to get a little bit of color. The sugar is already dissolved in the water. And what we're doing is just trying to get it a little bit darker, because once we add the cream, it's gonna lighten up anyway. So you wanna kind of get to just a little bit darker right before it starts to get to a point in which it tastes like it's gonna be burnt. All right, so now you can see that our sugar is starting to get a really nice caramel color to it. I like to get it nice and dark. And then from here, we're gonna go ahead and shut this off and add our heavy cream to it. And at the same time that it is bubbling up, be careful, it gets a little hot. You wanna keep mixing. Then I have a little bit of vanilla bourbon here. We just take some really nice vanilla extract, add a little bit of bourbon in there. Add a lot of bourbon if you like. And then you can see we have a really nice caramel color to it. And be careful because it is super hot. All right, great. Now that our caramel sauce has been pulled off the stove, we'll let it cool down for just a little bit. And as you can see, it has a nice consistency to it. We let it cool down, and if it's still running like that, you know that you just hit it right on point. So that caramel sauce looks great. I'm gonna go ahead and pull out the bread pudding from the oven. I went ahead and pulled off the foil just to make sure that everything was done, and everything looks really, really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull those guys out of the oven right now. So as you can see, we have our chocolate bread pudding along with our golden raisin and pecan bread pudding. And we're just gonna go ahead and top these guys off with a little bit of our caramel sauce. Looks lovely. All right, so this way nobody gets confused. We're gonna go ahead and add a few more of our golden raisins, a few more pecans, and a little bit more chocolate. And because we like to make everything amazing, we're gonna go ahead and add our 24 karat gold leaf right on top. There you go. That is our 2 bread puddings. And we're gonna go ahead and take a look at our crème brûlées next, and they should be just ready to be pulled out of the oven. So moving right along, we have our French toast, we have our 2 different types of bread pudding, the chocolate, as well as our golden raisin and pecan, topped off with a nice little gold leaf. Our crème brûlée is just about ready to go, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull those guys out of the oven. So pulling these guys out of the oven, we're gonna go ahead and set these guys right here on our cutting board. And I usually try to let them cool down for about maybe 15 to 20 minutes before I put the sugar and throw the blowtorch on there. Move these guys out of the way. So we're gonna go ahead and let these cool down for just a couple minutes, and then when we come back, we're gonna go ahead and top them off with our sugar, add the blowtorch on there, and get a nice little sort of brulee happening going on. All right, awesome. So our creme brulee is finally cooked, and we kind of give it a little tap. You can tell it just kind of sort of jiggles a little bit. If it looks like it's kind of wavy, then you probably need to leave it in for just a couple more minutes. Remember, each oven is different, so these are kind of approximations. We do them for about maybe 20 minutes at about 350 degrees, depending on if your oven's convection or if it's been sitting preheated for a little while. So the next step that we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and add the sugar to the top of them. And one of the favorite parts of my job, playing with the fire and knives, is why I got into this. So we're gonna go ahead and top them with just a little bit of sugar. And then we're gonna go ahead and take our blowtorch. And we're just gonna go ahead and kind of in a circular motion, get a really nice brulee to them. And we're gonna go ahead and do that with all three of them. And again, you don't want it to be in one spot for too long, so that way the sugar doesn't completely burn. You want it to caramelize, but not burn. All right, and then we'll take a few of our fresh berries. We're gonna go ahead and add these to them. We're gonna add one of these guys over here. That way everybody gets a strawberry. A little whipped cream. All right, chefs, we hope you enjoyed our sweet treats episode today with our creme brulees, our bread pudding, along with our French toast. We'd like to invite you and join us on our next episode when we're gonna be making a few different types of hors d'oeuvres. Again, to just have some friends over and get a few light bites in. And don't forget, be amazing.